Hey everybody, thanks for checking out another episode of the Soda Citizen podcast. Today I am so excited to have our friends Nell and Stephanie with us to talk to us about this fabulous new adventure they've embarked on. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Columbia?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mary Lane and Brad, for having us on today.
Yeah, absolutely.
My name is Stephanie Isaacs, and we own and operate Femme by Columbia. It's a social club and co-work space designed by women for anyone that supports gender equality as it relates to social and political and financial capital. And we have lots of opportunities for people to either join as a member or participate in some of the events that we're doing.
Great. Yeah, I'm Nell Fuller. And just to add to that, we have our co-work space, we have our social space, we have outdoor seating, lots of events. And so we tried to make something for everybody to be a part of it.
Yeah. So why don't you, either one of you talk a little bit about the space. I actually had the privilege of touring it before it was finished and before it was opened. And it's a really unique space. I like how you've used each of the levels for different things. So can you kind of describe the atmosphere and how the building is laid out?
Yeah, we really centered our building on our values. So our values are work, socialize, cultivate, revive, and fuel. And it's laid out that way. We looked at a lot of spaces in Columbia, both from an ownership perspective and a lease perspective. In this space, we just kept coming back to it because it embodied those values. And so whenever you walk through the space, you'll see that. So it's a 4-level building that we renovated. We did the historic renovation on it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It's a really neat building.
Yeah.
How big of a pain in the butt was the historic preservation side of it though? I heard they can be murderous sometimes.
You have to be on point and have to have really good people that you're working with.
Right.
Yes.
And we're still working to be on point.
Yes.
And so really it's, our ground level is Revive. We have Revive amenities to include a private shower. We have an art studio on the Revive level, and it's also accessible. Our main level is centered around socializing and cultivating. So building that network, building those resources, make sure that we have a diverse membership so that people can access that kind of network that they may not have otherwise been able to. And then our third level is co-work. So it's either flexible seating or someone, if you need a fixed desk to go to every day, that's great too.
Yeah.
And then we have a library and some meeting space. But
very cool. So that kind of falls on my first question because I think you answered it, but there was a lot of answer to that one. So when I look at the website and being a guy, I'm like, I don't know if this is for guys too or just ladies, and the way that you answer is for anybody looking for gender equality. So Is that a yes for the guys too? Or
totally.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah, we are.
I don't want to bust up in there and be like, get out.
Yeah, I mean, we have to have men and women and gender neutral people working together.
Sure.
I mean, that's how we all elevate each other. I think our biggest, position is that women need to be at the leadership table or women need to be part of the ownership. I mean, you two are a good balance here. So you're an example of what we're working towards trying to achieve in our space too.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're an example of what they're trying to achieve.
That's right.
No, but it is a really cool space. So I'm just curious. I know you're not technically open yet, right? The grand opening is in November. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we had a soft opening October 7th. So we had, we were talking about it earlier. We have a lot of members that came out and looked at the space when it was under renovation, gutted, looked horrible, that were like, I'm in. I love this. I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And then, so we had a soft opening to kind of work out the kinks, get people in the space, feel it out. And then we're having a grand opening November 12th.
Right. So if people that are listening or watching wanted to take a tour, wanted more information, is the best place for them to go just to the website?
Absolutely. Yeah, to the website. And if someone's interested in getting a feel of the space and they haven't been to an event, to get a ticket to the grand opening would be great. And I mentioned earlier about our values, and part of our values is centered around fuel, and that's a fund that will invest in women-led companies. And so, or part ownership in companies. And so our tickets that are sold that day will go into that fund. And then over time, our membership, a percentage of the memberships will go into that fund as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So starting, I guess, at the top of the building, the co-working space, because I feel like that might be some people are looking for. There's only so many in Columbia, and this sounds like a really unique one. So without having to, you don't have to go to every detail about every desk, but like, what's the general consensus? Is it just kind of specific desk? Is it kind of floating desk, or can you have your own space, or how's that work with y'all at this place?
Yeah, both. So we set up on the co-working levels, there's 4 different rooms, and then the next level up has a big library workspace. So on our main co-work level, 2 of the rooms have flexible desks that are on casters. You can move them around, group them together if you want to do that. There's whiteboards. And then we also have some fixed desk options. So we have uplift sit-stand desks and wobble boards to stand on, and locking file cabinets for people that want permanent space. And up on the top floor, we also have some like cafe style tables where people can sit and work, or, you know, crash in a lounge chair or on a couch. We wanted to have that diverse range of options.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious, did you ladies see a model like this in another market and think Columbia needs to have this? Or was this like a super organic one day you were like, we should do this? Like, how did this all come to fruition?
So sort of super organic. And then when you have super organic, you also have to do some research.
Right.
So
I like that style. Think about it like, let's see if that hasn't been done before.
So that's kind of where we were. We were like, we worked in philanthropy for a period of time, and we did a lot of work centered around women and what do women need. And we know that women need healthcare. We know that women need education. We know that women are the center of that for many families. Yeah, what else do women need? And so we would go to events, and there would be this movement, and then people would kind of go away and then think, I really need that again. And so we just realized that that was not here in Columbia. And so when we did a lot of market research. Nell can speak to that a lot. She like dove in and researched a lot about what's around. And then that helped us really think through what are our values, because there's a lot of workspaces, co-work spaces. There's a lot of social clubs. There's a lot of places that are gyms or workout centers. And we just really thought, how do we embody all of that in Columbia when there's a need that maybe people don't even know that they need?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so I'm just curious, when you have an event there, like can anybody have an event there? Do you have to be a member to use the building, or how, kind of walk us through how that works?
Yeah. So right now, we are really hosting all of the events right now. So we host the Cultivate events, and we have brought in several speakers. We have a civic engagement event tomorrow night, and we have a panel of women that are going to be virtual, but we'll have our members in the happy hour space.
Looks interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be really fun to talk about women in politics, particularly with the 2020 election coming up. And also, people that are not members can rent the space too for events. So all of our space rentals are online right now. And from the outdoor space to like our social floor, people are more than welcome to rent. And let us know if you need food and beverage. We have small food and beverage program, beer and wine, a little bit of light fare. So we can do some food and beverage options for events too if people want it.
Absolutely. And I don't think we said the spot either, though, but y'all on the corner of Richland and Bull Street. I mean, you're in a historic house right there, which when you said food, I'm like, oh, Spotted Salamander. Like, that's a good location. So anyways, we haven't said the location yet, so I thought we might want to throw that out there.
Yeah. And, Nell mentioned we're hosting a lot of the Cultivate events. We have an option on our website for people to submit their plan to host an event. We would love for people to host events there.
Sure.
Because we want to transition that to where it's community led versus us led, because that's not the purpose of our business. And so we're transitioning to that kind of approach. It's just getting the word out and let people know that they can do that.
Gotcha. So I'm curious what you think in the next 5 years, what will success look like for this project for you?
Yeah. So for me, success will look like a bustling hub of a diverse group of women that are there for, all of our values. We really hope to see that there's women using the space for all different types of activities and networking and communicating with one another and really building that community. And then we also mentioned that we're working on a fund with our parent company, Femme Capital. So I'd love to see that fund really growing. And we've made our first investments into women-led companies by year 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that would be exciting.
So we also ask this question of every guest that comes into being now, not just now, but being a business owner in Columbia. What do you see Columbia going? Do you see it growing and thriving? Do you see it staying the Columbia it's always been, or what made you want to invest, I guess, more so in the Columbia area?
When we looked at cities and competitive and comparison cities across the country, and specifically around the Southeast, Columbia is a really good market. Now, where are we today? Like the data is like, you can just toss the data out because that was when we had a stable market. We had stable, graduation rates, all of these things kind of happening and moving. And so, when we looked at Columbia, it's really a space where people want to be and where people are moving and projected to grow pretty substantially over the next, 10 years. So I think with the support of, the city, economic development, business opportunities, housing markets. I mean, the housing market is pretty incredible here. Mm-hmm. If we think about cost of living, it meets the needs of a lot of people, depending on their, demographic and what they want to seek to achieve. I lived in Charleston at some point, and the cost of living, I mean, it may be beautiful, but the cost of living there is for real. Right. And I think Columbia has those advantages that maybe some of the surrounding areas don't. If you think about Charlotte, you think about Atlanta, even Nashville, those cities have kind of boomed and continue to boom. Columbia has the opportunity to do that if it's supported and local businesses are supported. And I think Columbia does that. I think really supports local businesses. There's some cities that are built on chains, and Columbia is built on bringing the momentum up and supporting those opportunities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything else you think our viewers, our listeners need to know about this exciting project?
I think we just want people to know, I think you asked the question, is it only for women? And I think what we want people to know is that we're really for anyone that believes in gender equity. And we think Columbia is the place to make that movement happen.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be it sounds like it is, you're not still in construction, an awesome place to have that. And it's something I think is really needed in the Columbia area, especially having a wife that owns her own business and 3 sister-in-laws that live in the city and doing all that stuff. Like there's a need for that. And I applaud y'all for doing that and taking the risk, because it's obviously your money to build this dream so that people can take part. So it's not an easy first step, but thank y'all for doing that and making Columbia better. It's always awesome to have new entrepreneurs at our table to talk through this stuff.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here, and for everybody who tuned in today. Obviously, like and subscribe and keep listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.